Preston and Steve on 93.3 WMMR.
It's all about baseball this time around. Please welcome very famous and well-known documentarian, Mr. Ken Burns.
Yeah!
Good morning, Ken. Good to see you again.
Preston.
And you have brought the co-director of this?
And co-producer and co-writer, Lynn Novick. We made the original baseball series together and many other films, so
Awesome.
We're back.
Thank you very much
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to see you. We talked about this, about sports movies, and it seems, and certainly there's been great football movies and things of that nature, but the most emotional, the most impactful ones always seem to center around baseball.
Of course, because you tell some football story and you say, oh, Joe Montana threw a pass to Jerry Rice, or basketball, you inbound to Michael Jordan and he hit the thing. But a baseball story begins, my mom or my dad took me, and then something happened. So it's all about who you see it with. I mean, it's almost like our conversation about the national parks. It isn't just how spectacular the stuff is in front of you, the game or the park. It's who you're with, and those personal connections then connect you through all time, and you feel like you know the people that are maybe long gone.
We just in June, my two brothers and my father and brothers-in-law, we went up to Fenway Park, and it was something that I just discussed with my dad over Easter weekend. He said it's on his bucket list. I said, let's get it done. Let's go. We went up. It rained all weekend. Phillies got their asses kicked. It did not matter.
Not when you go to
Did not
Fenway.
matter.
Because you were with your dad.
Yep, and my brothers.
Exactly
Yeah.
That's so funny, Casey, and funny that you said that, Ken, because my story starts off my dad, and my dad is a baseball nut, and we would plan our summer vacations around whether or not the home team was in town. So if we were going to New England, we had to make sure the Sox were playing at home. I've been to Chicago to see Wrigley. You've been around baseball forever. Do you have a favorite baseball city or a favorite baseball park, or does it?
I've lived in New England for the last 40 years, and so the Sox have been my team, and Fenway Park is my church. And one of the reasons to do this was to talk about the amazing comeback against the Yankees in 2004. But the last 2 decades have been so consequential. Not just the strike and steroids, and we have to deal with that, and we do deal with that. But all the spectacular play and all the amazing stories. The Yankees and Joe Torre, the Atlanta Braves, the rise of Latin players.
The Phillies in 2008.
Phillies in 2008. They're there. Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, the home run chase, 9/11, and how the country sort of came back with baseball, and that amazing World Series with the Diamondbacks. I mean, it's got a lot of stuff that we had to cover. We thought it would be 2 hours. It's 2 hours.
Wow.
Go ahead, Preston.
I'm sorry, you're a New Yorker?
I am. I'm a Yankee fan.
Are you a Yankee fan?
That made life
nice
really.
having you.
I'm sorry. I know I'm in enemy territory here.
You're in enemy territory with Ken.
I know. Well, we've worked it out. We've found a way to peacefully disagree, and I think we both love our teams, and I think that's what makes the film stronger. And so there's hopefully respect that comes out of that. So I respect the Red Sox fan, and I feel for them, all their pain. And, we have our 27 championships.
The greatest thing is that.
I'm so sorry.
Throughout this, while you guys were preparing for this, you obviously had to, speak with some current players. How did they? I would imagine they were fans of the original series.
We don't pay our baseball players to talk, to think, or to necessarily spend a lot of time with long, lengthy PBS documentaries. But in each case, there's exceptions. We had Mickey Mantle and then Ted Williams, among others, in the first series. This one we have Joe Torre and Pedro Martinez and Omar Vizquel and Felipe Alou and Ichiro. And they do it. What it's mostly about is the thing we were just talking about. It's the people who love it, where they're talking about taking their kids to the game, the historians and the journalists and the people who watched all this stuff go on.
Well, you're talking about this time frame that you're covering. It's the 10th inning. It has been very tumultuous, and as I was reviewing some of the stuff that you're covering, of all the things, the steroids and the inclusion of players from all over the world, what stands out to you as the most profound change or moment in that time frame in baseball?
I think it has to, in many ways, be the steroids.
Yeah.
The fact that, a 50 home run, George Foster 77, Cecil Fielder in 90, and then all of a sudden middle infielders were hitting 50 home runs. And now they're a rarity again. And we can look back, and it wasn't as catastrophic as we thought when we were in the middle of it. And that's the sort of center of gravity, the through line of the story. But at the same time, the game is as good as it's ever been before. The plays that we're seeing on the field, the highlights are as good as any time in the history of the game. So we can sort of compartmentalize a little bit what's going on and get through it. And that's why we wanted to do the 10th inning.
I think the resilience of the game is what really comes through in all the ups and downs. Our film broadcast in 94 when the strike was happening, so there was no other baseball. America was infuriated and disappointed in baseball in a way that in our lifetime we've never seen, not since the Black Sox scandal. It was the lowest low moment. And yet the game built itself back up. Yes, steroids is part of that story, but there's also something in this game that has its hooks into the American people in such a deep way. When you look back to the strike and the anger and how quickly the game really rebounded, that's an astonishing thing.
It's sort of that Roy Hobbs thing,
yeah,
you know.
exactly.
I mean, what you blew out the lights when you hit that? Okay, all's forgiven.
Sure. Right.
You bet.
You know, when steroids happen in football, it's on page D23.
Right. Yeah.
When they happen in baseball, it's on the front page of the New York Times, the paper of record. And so it tells you a little bit. As much as people say, oh, it's not the national football's more popular, this is basketball, whatever. It's just not true. This is the game that sort of has accompanied us through our entire life. As a country and as a people. And while we might be drawn to football and basketball, as I am, and they're great sports, when it comes down to it, this is the national pastime, and you can tell as much about who we are by looking at baseball than anything.
You know, we'd like to say that baseball shows us a mirror of who we are, and steroids is part of that. You know, we live in a society where people want to take drugs to make their life perfect or to make their kid do better in a test or to do better in the bedroom. I mean, this is part of our society now.
Yeah.
So baseball is very much enmeshed, embedded in the American experience on so many levels, and that's what was fun to kind of draw out in the project.
Right.
You know, I talked to Chris Rock for this, and he looked and he said, who wouldn't take a pill to get paid more money at their job? He said, you would, looking right at me. He says, if there was a pill that could have you be paid like Steven Spielberg, you'd take it.
And that's I was watching another film over last weekend, Bigger, Stronger. What's the name of it?
Bigger, Stronger, Faster.
It was examining
steroids,
steroids, and it made some pretty salient points concerning that.
Right.
And it is, everyone wants to see a home run hit.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and it's just the nature of it. And where do you stand in the broad scheme of things? Is it a pure sport without, or is it just an acceptable aspect of the entertainment?
If this reflects who we are, then it is what it is, and you have to balance both the negative. You can't just be a moralist and say, oh, throw them all away, put an asterisk next to everything, because if you do that, then you have to put an asterisk next to the 1919 Cincinnati Reds who didn't win because it was thrown. You have to take away Bobby Thompson's home run. You can't really effectively judge Babe Ruth because he never had to bat against Satchel Paige because the gentleman's agreement kept African American. Where does it end? It doesn't end. Yeah. So what you do is you have to understand, you say life is complicated, baseball's complicated. It teaches us as much about loss as it does about winning. It is this powerful, powerful life lesson, and that's where we did. I mean, the thing that I woke up a couple months ago just thinking about that the film was long done is, you know, for all this inflated home run stuff, there weren't that many more 300 hitters. Nobody hit 406 as Ted Williams did in 1941. No one went on a 56-game hitting streak as Joe DiMaggio did in 1941. So in some ways, we kind of contained the oil spill of steroids, and hopefully we're beyond it. It's in the rearview mirror, and that's what this 10th episode is about.
Wonderful to see you guys. Ken
It's great
Burns,
to be back. Thank you, Preston.
Lynn Novick,
Thank
you
you
guys very much. Have a good time at the ball game.